Do I need another?
She'll fill you up.
And we welcome you into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. We are coming to you live from Quaker Steak and Lube a couple of days before the Nittany Lions take on Auburn in a game that's receiving a little attention here, dear Goon. The gentleman in the middle here is Mike Mauti, the one of the saviors of the Penn State program, truth be told, and delight to have you here today, and we'll talk a lot about why you're here and why a film that is going to get the red carpet treatment tomorrow at the State Theater is so important in continuing to tell the story that I'm not even sure. I mean, Penn Staters know the story. I'm not sure they know it as intimately as they are going to once they see the film. But, Mike, again, we thank you for coming down and appreciate the time today.
Thank you guys for being here. It's exciting to be back.
Rick Slater is over here to the left. We'll be chatting with him a bit later as well. But let's just talk a little bit before we get to why you're here, just about this Penn State-Auburn game and kind of the atmosphere. You can feel it building in town. We were talking about it Tuesday, Goon. You can feel the energy.
Absolutely.
But, man, it is getting hyped up, no doubt. And I'm guessing these are the games that you wish you had the opportunity to come back and play in again.
Well, I had my time. I had my time to play, and I emptied the tank when I had the helmet on, but it's 2 years off. I think everyone's just itching to get out and just be in that energy again, and I certainly am. And I cannot wait. I'm so excited. A lot of guys are coming back in town. Letterman I've talked to over the week. I've been texting all the guys, so it'll be a full house and a lot of exciting things going on.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. It is the first time in about I don't even know, 35 years that I'll be able to go up to the game without any duties. I'm not.
That's a good feeling.
No pregame show that I'm involved with. No postgame show that I'm involved with. I actually can't get to because I do the PA announcing for the State High games now. I can't get to Friday night, so I am going to see the film on Saturday morning at the 11 o'clock showing, and looking forward to that. But other than that, I will just be bouncing around from tailgate to tailgate. A ton of old college buddies coming in town. Big shout out to Pete Harfley, who will be in town. Will be stopping by his tailgate. He's a former State College and Penn State baseball player who is battling cancer, and God bless him, he is willing himself up here to be at the tailgate with his sister, and looking forward to catching up with him, among many others, in what's just going to be an amazing weekend here in Happy Valley. Let's go back, though, because a big part of why there is the excitement around this game is what you and your fellow teammates did back in 2011 into 2012, but really the summer leading into that 2012 season. And obviously that's what the film, and I know it was originally Iron Lions. Is it Saving the Roar?
Saving the Roar.
Okay, Saving the Roar is the title now. I got to get that
me too
memorized in my mind. I know the Roar is in there, and I keep wanting to call it
Restoring the Roar.
Yes,
I keep going to that too. I got to keep checking myself.
But the film again will officially debut at the State Theater tomorrow night. With help me out, good. There's two showings tomorrow night
and one on Saturday, I believe.
Yeah, the one on Saturday is at 11. I only know that because I have the tickets for it, and that's what I'm going to.
Yeah, but I know that it's actually, if you go to the website where it's at, you know off the top of your head?
Well, the platform I know it's in.live.
Yes.
But savingtheroar.com, you can go find all that.
Sign up. You don't have to be in the State to watch the movie.
It's online.
So
it's a pay-per-view type of platform.
Pay-per-view type event type of thing. So that starts Friday night as of then, and then they'll have that for a good month. So I've seen the movie. I don't know if you guys have changed it much.
I don't think. The original. If they have, I don't know about it.
It was fantastic, and you leave there with that that pit in your stomach, like, God, you can't believe this happened. Why it happened, but then in the end, everything that came from it has just been amazing, and how it all tied together, and again, to what you guys had done in the 2011 and 12 to keep it there. I mean, we're not talking about Penn State playing Auburn in a whiteout still to this day, 10 years later, if you guys didn't do what you guys had done in 2012.
Well, that's something it's hard for me to really put into perspective.
You have, though. We've talked about this, correct?
Yeah.
Like you've started to realize a little bit more as you get older, like, oh, crap, this did mean a lot to a lot of people.
It did, and I see it everywhere. I've traveled a lot around the country, and I get a lot of different perspectives of people still, tell me where they were when they saw, us on the TV. It happened to me a couple of weeks ago in Denver airport. Some just running up to me, thank you. You don't know what it meant to me to see you on the screen and say it, like draw a line in the sand and say, no, we're going to hold this thing together. And it just meant so much to so many people. It became more than football. It was just an identity that we, wanted to uphold. I mean, because that's just what we were.
I got a question. So he's like, yeah, these damn millennial kids nowadays, everybody craps all over them. But these are a bunch of millennial kids are doing this. And it's like, well, when you put that in and you start thinking about that, I mean, your generation gets a lot of crap for a lot of stuff you guys don't do. But then you guys banded and did something like this. And this is what Bob is completely amazed by. He's like, these are millennials who went out and did this for everybody else, but they also did it for themselves. And not normally what a millennial would do, but these guys, I mean, you guys were old school. I mean, that's not kidding.
We were raised that way.
You were raised that way. You were the children of Penn State football players.
Yeah, we were a product of that system for sure. Second generation later, but the resiliency factor on millennials do get a bad rap, but it certainly was easy to make those decisions just based on our upbringing, and so I remember you being right there, and within 2 days we had like 2,500 people you had rallied together, and we had the whole community, man. That for us, was really, you had 50 media members just, hounding you. You had coaches it was unprecedented in the history of college football.
Yes,
I mean, that's why I wanted to at least be involved in, hey, let's protect the story. So we tell it like it went down, which is, it's history as a way of kind of.
I want to get into that, and Jeff would too, and that is that you were being pressured by a lot of people to do something about this, but you wanted to retain somewhat control of the situation, correct?
Yeah, I mean, look, media and money has a way of changing narratives. That's just the way it goes, and so I had a lot of people over the years, multiple. That were very interested in the story and wanted to tell it in their own way. And that's not how I wanted to do this. It just, there was really, I was going to do it once, and it was going to be with the right guy, the guys that were there. And then, with Coach O'Brien, with Z and Zordich and Coach Fitzgerald, we got a lot of legacy players and just notable. We had John Bacon, who was a New York Times bestseller. He wrote, was a part of the book Fourth and Long. He was more like our fact-checking encyclopedia, just in case our memory, got a little twisted up. But no, it just has all the unique perspectives. But there's no garbage. It's authentic. It's real, and it's from the horse's mouth. So it's not a story that a lot of people have heard.
And it's from the heart of it. It's from
it's
Bill
real.
O'Brien. It's from Craig Fitzgerald. It's from you. You guys were the ones living it. It's not somebody on the outside talking about it like, oh, well, this is what they weren't. You guys had to deal with it every day and every day afterwards. Yeah, I mean, it was chaotic. I mean, on a Monday, you're free to go if you want. On Tuesday, you got 60 offers. You got planes at the airport. That may be normal now, but back then it was like that was not normal. And you had to sit out a year, and it was really kind of a micro look at what the game is now. Right. I never looked at the transfer portal aspect of it, but that's what it's turned into.
There was never, we didn't have the portal then. It was like,
you would have had to sit out a year, and you guys had nothing to sit out, and you guys could have gone.
We could the next day
in
conference, and that's where, there's some even better stories. But we get coaches calling, hey, you're our starting linebacker tomorrow. From fill in the blank school, and it just became really clear. Like, this ain't right. And we had at that point 35 seniors, and we had a great coach, Bill O'Brien, and his leadership. I mean, that staff. It just was the right thing to do. It meant too much to too many people.
Mike, along those lines, the movie, I think, does do a wonderful job of capturing the story, but there are many stories. I mean, it's only 90 minutes, and there's more than 90 minutes.
And we could have left
story.
a lot. And we left. Look, there's plenty. There was 600 pages, I think, Bacon had out of his laptop. A lot of which hasn't been published, but because there's so many storylines within this storyline, and there's so many universal themes that come out of this that I think are really relevant now, more so than they've ever been.
Is there, or are there a story or a couple that you really wish were in the movie that just, again, you understand that not everything's going to be able to get in there, no matter, you could have this be a 12-hour movie, but is there anything that you're, man, I really wish this story would have been able to make the cut for whatever reason?
Like it's kind of like when you're giving a speech, like there's a speech you give, or at least the speech you write, the speech you give, the speech you want to give. There's always three in there, but I'm really proud of it. I mean, we worked on this thing. I remember my first notes, because I knew back then, I'm like, this is going to be a movie. It's just how, and I had, my dad calling me. He's like, hey, take notes, just down the road, and I'm okay. I mean, I remember Archie Manning calling me, Peyton Manning calling me. They're close with the family, and that's one thing Archie said. He was like, just take notes, man. This is real.
The hell of it. I never heard that. That's great.
I mean, that's just that perspective then. And so, I mean, I knew the gravity of it then. I didn't know to what, impact, but yeah, there's a lot of stories that I wish, I mean, we made Nash and the team that Michael Nash, the director, and Bob Morgan, who was a Penn State guy, they really wanted to tell this story, the same story that really I felt was the most important out of that time, which is so polarizing, with this Sandusky thing, and you have Paterno, and there's such emotion gripped on both sides, and it's like, let's just tell it what happened, and that's what's the beauty of it.
I know we get a lot of love, and you get a lot of love for what you did and how your season ended with the ACL, but I'm going to go back to January of 12. When you literally gave the speech for Joe's eulogy for your decade. And I don't think you got enough credit for that. I mean, you know how hard that was. I'm sure. I'm not telling you nothing, but what you said and how you acted was unbelievable. I don't think you get enough credit for that, because all those guys that are up there did a hell of a job, but you actually rose above them because you were still living it. It was pretty impressive.
Well, thank you. That no, I just got chills, man. I remember being up there shaking like a leaf, but
I was in the crowd shaking like a leaf. That's not my thing, man.
Look, that was my first public speech.
Yeah.
I'm in 16,000 people, and I'm national TV. But who else? I felt like, who else is going to say this? Who else is going to speak on behalf of this crew? And I was proud to do it, and I think there was no better guy to come in than Bill O'Brien at the end of that, and he respected all of that. So, but I appreciate those words. That means a lot.
Bill was, I always say, he was the perfect guy at the perfect time in this place. Yeah. And I know he had the NFL aspirations. He never made that, that was never a secret. He was always out there. But the way he came in and maintained this place, kept it above water, he deserves a lot of credit. I don't think he even realizes that.
I don't want to speak for him. I don't think he does. And I've said this all the time. He doesn't get enough credit, and he wouldn't take it. That's not the kind of guy he is, but we were in the war. It just seemed like he made all the right moves and said all the right things in the times of the most turbulence. Yeah, and that it really helped us stay calm.
And one of the things that I don't think he gets enough credit about is, just like you guys, people are I think thinking that, well, he was locked here. When he was hired, he was told specifically by the athletic department.
So we're good. That's behind us.
That the NCAA is not going to levy sanctions. I mean, that was part of why Bill O'Brien decided to take the job. Is okay, as long as I don't have to worry about the NCAA sanctions. So those sanctions come down. Again, it would be very easy, and I'm not even sure you could argue that it wouldn't have been the right thing for Bill O'Brien personally to do, to say, hey, you guys,
I'm out of here.
And, Penn State may have believed it at the time. And I don't think Penn State was necessarily trying to be coy with them. I think Penn State genuinely believed that the NCAA wasn't. Yeah. And it was, that PBS special where Mark Emmert said, listen, this isn't the NCAA's purview. And then a month later, he's like, well, yeah, it is our purview. And we're going to lay down the hammer. But, I mean,
but he didn't know.
Bill, I mean, stuck with you guys and the university in circumstances that, again, were not only unprecedented, but truly unexpected by him.
Completely. I think he might have found out. I'd have to ask him, but only days before, maybe Friday or Saturday. I got a call on that Sunday before from Fitz, and I'm driving back from Youngstown. Zordich and I were getting out of town for the weekend, and a week before training camp, we're gearing up, and Fitz. I remember the phone ringing, and I'm kind of joking with him, like, "What's up, man?" And he's like, "Hey, we got some news coming down. Like,
it's pretty bad.
It's gonna be bad."
Yep.
And I'm like,
I was in my house with Johnny Butler, my father, and he's like, Johnny took the phone call. He's like, Jesus. And I'm like, what you get? What do we get? What do we get? He's like, I can't tell you. I'm not allowed to tell you, but it ain't good. It's not good at all.
Yeah. Talking to Fitz in hindsight, years later, he's like, when he called me, he was sitting at the bar with JB. They were like, should we get the hell out of here? Those guys, I think the way that they saw us respond in hindsight probably was, okay, we're going to be all right. After a few days, they hung in there with us, and now those guys are still as close friends as any.
Perspectives obviously change. How much has your perspective changed on that situation? Because to me, and I'm just speaking for me, I think, at the time I thought it was horrendously unfair. Now with being able to look back at it and put it in perspective,
it was unnecessary.
I can't think of anything more unfair or more. And as we've talked about, I do think the good news out of it is I do think it started or at least sped up the process of the destruction of the NCAA, which
it definitely shook things up, and that was it's like the breaking up of the USSR in some ways. You're just like, you got the power broken office. That would, I think, moves like that.
Does it anger you even more now, or is it just it's something we had to deal with, and that's just part of history for you guys?
That's the beauty, and what I love so much about Bill O'Brien is that he wouldn't even let us spend 1 ounce of energy or emotion on that. It's like, hey, that is what it is. It happened.
We're moving on. How we gonna?
That's a waste. Like, let's action forward. Like, what are we gonna do now? But in hindsight, you're like, okay, this is major overstep, and you could go on and on. Yeah. I think moves like that from the NCAA are the reason why we're in the situation we're in now. It's because your people wake up and they're like, wait a minute, that wasn't right. But it gave us the opportunity to really reestablish our identity and culture, and kind of, I'm always a silver lining guy. And so it's easy to say that now. But within 6 years we're sitting in the Rose Bowl.
I told
that was the most validation ever.
Absolutely. That was a 4-year window.
Yeah,
from like that to that. It's that, and the movie explains that so well. I don't want to say the last line of the movie. I will Tuesday after it comes out. But what John Bacon said at the end of that movie, I was like, that's it. Because I was like, I had like anger in my stomach. I was upset. I was happy. I was joyful. I was sad. And then at the end, I was like, that's it. That's perfect. That's exactly what needed to be said right there. And what he said, he absolutely hammered it. We'll talk about it next week. But and
that's a college football historian. That's a Michigan guy.
Yes, I know. Because he interviewed me a lot. We were in contact a lot.
Yeah.
He was on my old show a bunch that year because he was in town with us.
He was the only guy that was in.
It was ridiculous. that was at the perfect time.
He snuck in.
He was Urban Meyer, Jim Harbaugh, and Bill O'Brien. He was with those 3 guys for a whole year. Like, that's insane. Like,
so that access.
With that going down, everything going around, I was like, holy crap, man.
No, I remember him at that time, and he was just laptop. And we didn't know who he was from Adam, but we just knew that Bill let him in. And that was good enough for us. So we told him we got everything. We met with him. We're like, document this. But he'll be here tomorrow. So
he's a good man.
He's a great man.
Big Michigan hockey guy. So we don't talk about the hockey.
That's right. That's
right. John, he actually was on my show, me and Sweeney's show back in the day, and he let us know a lot about. It was pretty good seeing like he's a Michigan guy and getting his perspective as an outsider looking at it.
Yeah,
and he was all on board with it, and it was really cool to hear that, to hear him talk about like that type of stuff. It was good that you guys had it.
It was a blessing. He's
that was going to happen before the sanctions, right? Do you know, or was that because of the sanctions he came on?
that's where it gets a little fuzzy. I'm not sure when he came
CTE
on the
already?
scene already. Yeah,
Damn it.
that's a lot of head trauma.
I had some CTE last night at a funeral yeah.
Well,
Self-imposed.
so yeah, been there. I've been there.
Yeah.
No, but I'm
I'm going to ask you on that if he was signed on before the sanctions came out, or was he already going to be there?
I don't think. I think he was like a Trojan horse. I'm not sure if he had. That'd be a great backstory. You should ask him because there is a backstory behind that, and I don't think it was like approved, up the chain. But it didn't really matter because Bill we had our bubble and no one else was getting in. Who we didn't want. So I'm excited to see him.
It was a fantastic bubble, man.
That was it.
It really, really was. I mean,
it was the only time in my football career, really, besides high school, but it was just a pure locker room playing. The coaches you're playing, there's nothing to play for, but it's for love of the game, for love of the guys next to you, and that's was the beauty of it. So it was a lot of. I mean, it was fun.
I told Jeff this. So Bob had reached out to me and Mike Nash about and Jeff's buddy, and I sent them the actual tape of the TV, or I'm sorry, the radio show that me and Tim had done with Fitz and Butler. The Tuesday after the sanctions.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen that.
It was actually Thursday after the sanctions.
I would love to see that.
Let's listen to it. And I'm listening to it, and I'm like, my personality is like when I get like stressed and like upset, and I start like joking. I like try to add in little I'm like doing that. And I can hear Fitz like getting pissed off at me, and I'm like,
because he knows how real
stuff. Like I'm like, it's like this and that. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, by the end of the show, you can hear. You can actually feel and hear the pain and the fear in Fitz and Butler's voices. This is Thursday after the Monday sanctions came out. And they were like, there are people on this campus right now from every Big Ten university walking around this campus, stalking these guys down, mothers, brothers, girlfriends. They're talking to anybody, fathers, to try and get them to go to another school. And these guys are telling me this. And that was the night we got done there, had a few beers, and we figured out the Rise and Rally, and then the Lettermans get together.
Yeah.
And that, which you guys could talk about that.
Well, that was huge. I mean, that was where it was like
these guys were all
hold
there.
The line. Yeah,
absolutely. They were there.
First ones everywhere we go.
Sally was. It started at 6:30. Sally was there at 10:15 p.m.
the night before 3 a.m.
Happy birthday, Sally!
Happy birthday, Sally's been
the Rise
everywhere.
And Rally. Fitz was like, "Yeah, dude, we got our workout." It
was at like
Tuesday or Wednesday at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then. That's it. And then we're going to break for a couple of days, and then we're going to start camping. He's like, if you're going to do something, you got like 4 or 5 days to figure this out. I said, all right, we got this. We
thought there, and we heard about this. Look, that was our war room, Fitz, and we're like, hey, let's get some guys out here, call Goon. I'm like, I don't know, call Goon.
Fitz was like, dude, these guys are sitting in this room, and there's 120 guys who feel like there's no one has their back. They're
Zero.
Like
Zero.
There's 120 people in this room who nobody trusts or believes in. We're like, no. There's 150,000 people out here.
There was 1 million.
We needed that too.
Right. We
needed that as much as you guys did. So because you go out and do anything, and well, Penn State just doesn't get it. They're out celebrating this and that. No, we're not.
That's all you saw on the TV, though.
Exactly.
That's all. Was the issue.
They tried to pan it off as we were just, blowing smoke in the. NCAA's face and just giving them the finger, and I was like, it was
this community was broken, man. It was
we needed something to cheer because everything had been such bad news, something to cheer about, and that's why the whole town rallied around you guys.
They were within 3 days you had 2,500 people there.
It was unbelievable,
and we're all.
Butler's calling me at 5 in the morning. He's like, dude, there's people in the parking lot.
Dude, I'll never forget that, man.
He's like, I can't even get in my parking spot. There's people here. I'm like, all right, yeah.
Just
the stories.
Dude, there's
a
line of people. On the way to go, we were doing a 7-on-7, and you had 2,500 people screaming, and that's when I'm like, okay.
Yeah. That's what you guys needed, and you guys deserved it. We needed it as much as you. I don't think the players ever realized that, but
I did that day. That's when it became
cheer
real.
About too.
Yeah.
But we all had to let you guys know that there are people in this world who support you and have your back, and we're not deserting you. We're not going away from you. So. That was 24 hours.
And the thing that I think was, and largely still is, misunderstood by the media is that it really was not about football. I mean, it was ultimately, I mean, that there's the support for the football program. But what this was a community coming together saying, listen, you are misportraying what happened here, what this community is about, and what this program is about. This has nothing to do, and to this day had nothing to do with the program.
Right.
And, another show for another time, but even what was being alleged was absolute nonsense.
Nothing to do with us at the time. That's really the point of that
football program. And what was being portrayed at the time was, oh, if you support the football team,
like Chewbacca theory.
You,
it was like,
you support child molestation. It's like that's absolutely insane. And what the people here were able to do is, well, no, these are two separate issues. We are completely against one and completely for the other. And whether you get it or not, we get it, and we're going to continue to, abide by our principles. And that was to the team and the community's credit.
It was that's what gave us the confidence to get out and do that press conference. It was like, okay, let's separate these two conversations. I mean, that's what's most important. And what you're seeing,
Power Ranger statement, actually.
What's that?
I like your Power Ranger statement the best.
Which one was that?
You said, dude, we were all playing with Power Rangers when this was supposedly going on.
Playing with Barney and those guys are gone. And I say in jest, it's like these guys are either jail or they're rest in peace. We had a new staff with new players, and so I still get it from people that don't get it. That's
my next question to you. Is that you left here and then you went to the NFL, and I know the NFL locker room is freaking hardcore ball busting that can go on in there. There's no doubt about it.
I have heard it all.
I can't imagine what you guys were hearing.
I heard it all. Oh, I mean, what we didn't hear in 2011 really was when we got the brunt of it. Bottles and everywhere we went on the road that year. But no, the funny story though, when I got to Minnesota, and then our strength coach was Tom Canavy. Colonel.
Who was my strength
who
coach
was like pure-blooded Penn State. Like I walked in first day, and he's in tears. He's like what they did was so wrong. Like he just was so Penn State, like bleed blue, and was so sick about everything that had happened. And because he had gotten so much crap from all his guys, they're weighing in like with their boxers backwards, like all that, everything, fill in the blank. And it's funny, and it's like, okay, like let's. It's just like, I've heard that X amount of time, but give me a new one, but that's, you just gotta brush that stuff off. But in the NFL, it's certainly nobody got it. Nobody really. That's what was so important to at least tell the story the way that it went down, and so people know what it was, and when they look back, they're gonna remember that, and it'll be separated and compartmentalized, but. We're reframing the whole conversation really in the history. It protects it. So we don't have to hear that crap.
Fantastic.
Thick skin.
Colonel Canavy comment right
there. He's the best, man.
That's that guy. He was my strength coach. He was actually the guy who
he's
gave
old
me the
school.
nickname Goon.
No way.
Yeah, he's the one. Yep.
We got to call him. We
we were watching Slapshot for the 4 millionth time.
Slapshot. He's a big WWE guy. Ric Flair.
You goons. And you guys are a bunch of goons. He's like, Goon, I just want to get you drunk one time. Because I was like not weight room strong. But like when I started drinking and stuff like that, I had like the strength of like 28. Yeah. Strength of like 26 humans. And he's like, I just want to get you drunk and just throw you in the weight room. And just start lifting stuff, He's like, you're such a freaking goon. And I was like, oh. And then we were all infatuated with Slapshot, so that's where it came from.
Henceforth, to be known as
like, what the hell?
The famous
Goon. What the hell's Goon? Goon. You look like one.
Get a haircut.
Exactly.
That's all. I didn't know TK gave you the name.
Man, the Colonel.
We're gonna take a picture. I'm sending him a picture right now. I don't know where he is.
He's a strength coach, so he's got to be way off his rocker. So him and Fitz are like one in the same.
They were peas in a pod. He would throw on like Ric Flair. That's what we worked out to. Ric Flair videos.
Canavy has gone out for Halloween the last 42 years as Alice Cooper. Absolutely.
Perfect.
All the time. He goes every year. He sends me a picture on Halloween. Alice Cooper again this year. Well, who would have thought of that?
There's only one. Last time I heard from him, he's in Scranton, like doing the giant pole thing with them climbing on each other, and he's like Italian.
The Italian holiday over there where everybody has to climb the pole up and stuff like that.
He's a maniac.
He was the
like the base of it or something.
He was the guy, the honored guy one year as a strength coach. It was like, geez, scratching the bottom of the bucket there.
Dude, Canavy.
Buddy.
Man, what a guy.
So, we want to take a break here, Jeffrey?
Yeah, let's take a break here, and we will be right back with more of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. We are coming to you live from Quaker State.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
Hi, Johnny Broom here. If you're in the market for a new Hyundai or a pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV, nobody beats a Blaze Alexander deal. But don't take my word for it.
Hey, Goon says tell him Johnny sent you.
Hey, tell him Johnny sent you.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Wait, tell him Juan or tell him Johnny sent you?
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Here at Bill Pickles Tap Room, we say,
tell him Johnny sent you.
And remember,
we welcome you back into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here at Quaker Steak and Lube on a Thursday afternoon as we get ready for Penn State Auburn. But again, tomorrow night at the State Theater and State College and online, the debut of Saving the Roar, formerly the Iron Lions. It'll also be run on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock at the State Theater. And look back at the 2012 team and just the importance and significance of it. Mike Mauti joining us here at Quaker Steak and Lube. And Mike, how close are you guys now? That senior class in particular from that 2012 team. How much are you guys?
It's like we never left
with each other.
Like we never left. Yeah, a lot of those guys are like the Mike Farrells, the Jordan Hills, Stephon Morris, Gerald Hodges, Zordich. I mean, we don't have to talk for 10 years, and it's, what do you need? I'm there. And, I mean, that's who's
Adam Gress.
Adam Gress, rest in peace. He was a
good dude,
great dude. And then all the juniors, the sophomores. Anthony Zettel, like he gets picked up in New Orleans and he picks up the phone. Hey man, I'm on practice squad. I'm like, I'll be there in 20 minutes. Like that, guys. Like that's life. That's for life.
That was key. That was the biggest thing that no one really talks about is like the Donovan Smith and Zettel and Jesse James. That whole class of guys.
Mike Hole,
Willie. Well, not with Mike Hole, not Josh. But like those guys, they were the ones who should have left.
They should have.
You guys weren't going anywhere. You were seniors. You had already made your bones. They're freshmen and sophomores fighting. To getting a starting role and stuff like that, to get on the field, and another team's offering, and then they're saying no bowl games, no scholarships, this and that. It's going to be a horrible 4 years. Get the hell out.
Yeah.
And the fact that you guys convinced them to stay, and I hope that the rise and rally helped and stuff like that.
It did. It was everything was significant. That especially. That's when it meant something to, more than football. And then the Letterman came on a whim. 400 guys showed up, and then you started really feeling like, okay, that's what this is about. It's not about look. And Coach O'Brien was adamant, and I didn't recognize this at the time, but he's like, as long as we're on TV, as long as we're on TV, that is all that matters. And in hindsight, he was totally right about that. But quick story that I'm not going to say it's in the film, so you got to watch the story. But there's 23 NFL players on that roster, 2012. I mean, it was a talent. It was a stack. We had a lot of talent. I mean,
you got some pretty big star power on there.
Allen
too.
Robinson,
for sure.
Godwin, Gerald Hodges, myself, Jordan Hill. The list goes. Zettel, Mike Holt, Donovan Smith, Zettel.
Smith is a
I mean, he's
couple-time All-Pro
these guys are,
right now.
Yeah,
he's a stud.
Studs.
By the way, Sam Ficken's still kicking in the NFL.
And Ken Ficken.
In case anybody hasn't been paying attention. So
he's having a great career.
He really is.
That makes me proud to watch those guys.
Yeah,
it really is.
Sam Ficken's career's been like this, up and
roller
down, the
coaster
whole time.
Yeah,
that's the life of a kicker, though.
Absolutely,
I mean,
it is. But once you get the trust of a coach and an organization,
yeah, you got to ride.
You can kick. You'll be there a long time.
That's true.
Man.
That's true.
I do want to acknowledge the boy to our left here. Rick doesn't want to come on the air, but so Coach O'Brien's asking me, like, who can we get to come and talk to these guys? And I say, listen, I talked to Fitz about it. I said, listen, get this guy we played with, Rick Slater, was a Navy SEAL, did 11 years Navy SEAL before he came to Penn State. The guy came to Penn State, and I'll give you a little background that he came to Penn State because the only reason he came to Penn State is from Flint, Michigan. It was because that Michigan and Michigan State did not offer walk-on tryouts, like off-the-street kids. Seriously, Joe used to have
walk-on,
literally, hey, their football team tryouts Monday night, get here. So that's why he came to Penn State. That's the reason why he came to Penn State. So
wow.
So Fitz is talking to me. I'm like, we got this guy here. He played here, then got hurt, and then became the heavyweight boxing champion of the NCAA and this and that. And he's like, are you serious?
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, hold on, I didn't finish yet.
Yeah, that's the preface. That doesn't even get through half the first paragraph.
Right. 9/11 happens, and what Karpakis says it best, and his graduation present to himself is he was down in Brazil training with Hoist Gracie and the Gracie family, doing MMA stuff. So
doing jiu-jitsu and breaking joints.
Only Rick does that type of stuff. So,
right.
So 9/11 happens, and he goes to the consulate and says, I'm a former Navy SEAL. They bring him back to America, and he re-ups, and he did another 14 more years. So he did 25 years active duty Navy SEAL. So I don't know if you saw the video. We had a room named for him a couple weeks ago on campus.
I saw it. It was in tears.
Amazing. So Fitz is coming to me, and he's like, what do you think? Coach wants to get some guys to come in and talk to these guys. And I'm like, yeah, who you need? You need Shane Conlon, John Schaefer, Kerry Collins, somebody like that. He's like, anybody really, really important? I'm like, and Fitz is like, what about that Navy SEAL guy? I mean, wouldn't he be great? I said, absolutely, he'd be freaking great. So call Slater. Dude, what's up? What do you need? I said, hey,
Roger.
Boys need you. Roger.
Roger.
He said, he goes, I just signed up 3 years. I'm going to Australia to train their special forces. He goes, I only got about a 2-week span here. And I said, he goes, what do you need? I said, well, Coach wants you to come in and talk to the team. He goes, I'm on it. When do you need me? Tell me when. And, Coach is like, well, we're going to have the secretary set you up and get you, your flights in and this. And he's like, it's on me. I'll be
on the house,
Tell
brother.
me when.
This
one's on the house.
Yeah.
He flies in from San Diego. We go out, have a quick bite to eat, and he goes over and talks to the team. And I'll let Mike explain the talk.
Yeah, in our minds, we had only heard stories about this guy. I don't even know if he was real, if he was just made up guy.
Stephon Morris is pretty funny. He's like, I was scared of the guy.
Well, we were terrified. Like, he shows up, he's got this satchel with his go bag. I'm like, everybody's like, what's in that bag?
Yep. What's in the bag?
What's in the bag? He's like, what caliber you think? But it was a guy that we were like idolizing before we even knew him, because he was a legend in his own right, just from the stories that we heard about his escapades. Like, he would do these condition tests, and he would then show up again, do them again, and he was like,
3
just
times in one day.
All these feats of, I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And then all of a sudden he's just there. And then what he said to us at the time, I was like, and what it meant to him, being a part of this, and around the world, and given coming from him, it's just at the time I remember, and I was sitting next to Zordich, and I felt like he was talking to me at the time, and he's like, this is what this means wherever you go. And I can't do the speech justice. You'll have to. It's in there in the film, but
I've seen
it
a
was
version of the speech. I've read a version, and everything he said, he goes, the whole world is looking at you, and they have your back. And everybody's going to be cheering for you for what you guys are going to be doing. And I was like, at the time, I was like, I don't know, man. A lot of people hate us right now, but it was the truth.
It was the truth.
It was the truth because America actually got behind these guys, and
it was so real, and it was I mean, poetic, man. I remember we were sitting there. I mean, you couldn't hear a pin drop, and all of a sudden his phone rings. You remember that, Rick? You remember when your phone rang? You remember when your phone rang during that? And everybody's like, oh shit, like, oh shit. The phone, like, it's got to go.
That's a bomb, that's a bomb, that's a bomb, that's a bomb.
And you're like sitting there, and you're just like, pause, like hard, like 4 count. We're all like, what's he going to do? Sorry, I interrupted myself. And just like picked it right up and just went, and we're like, holy shit. You know? But no, what Rick said then was, I mean, at the end of it, you know, he rips off his belt, and
that's the coolest.
It's his Penn State football belt. And
Jeff, I've talked to you about it, like the football belt, the 2 little metal clasps. You loop it through and you rip it through. Every football player, every level ever has had that belt.
Yep.
He rips his shirt up right here. It goes like this, and he's wearing the belt. He goes, "This is what Spider gave me my first day here in 1997." We're all like, "Is he serious?" And he actually had said it at the Letterman's thing one time, and what he said that night was, "This has been jumped out of airplanes, come out of a lot of deep water," and he goes, "There's a lot more firefights that I wish to talk about or will remember." But he goes, "This is why I wear this belt. I wear this belt every day to remember where I come from and why I do what I do." And I'm like looking around at these guys, and these guys. I remember like looking over at Fitz, and I'm like, Fitz is like, he's holding the chairs like this, and he's like shaking, and I'm like, someone's going to kill somebody here. I think.
What matters
there's a
more
wall
than
going
that?
down. I know there's a wall going down.
What matters more than that from this man? Like that's okay. Like Charlie Mike. Here we go. And that changed it really took the mindset to a different level for us, for me personally. But that's when it was like, okay, it's all or nothing. Like burn the ships.
Yep.
And but Rick really set the tone with that. That kind of intensity was really what it took in hindsight too, because it was so turbulent. It really was. But
that was awesome.
That speech was amazing, man.
Yeah, it was.
And you'll see it in the film. And we couldn't do this film without him, because he was such a pivotal point in just his impact on us and our frame of mind. And I remember calling you as we're putting this thing together, and that's why I wanted to at least be involved in it. Hey, you got to talk to this guy. And I'm like, I don't know how do I get in touch with Rick? I'm like, I don't know, Goon. You think Rick would get on camera?
Yeah, Rick on comm somewhere. He called in. He called in from
what's your coordinates?
Australia one time or two. No, but we was talking to Rick before. You should have, because he left for Australia the next morning for 3 years. You should have been at that send away party after your speech that night.
I can't imagine, man.
I bet it came to Tuesday after that. Holy heck, man! So.
One of one.
Let's talk about Saturday. What are you thinking here for the game here? I know we got a couple more minutes here.
Yeah. So I'm watching Wisconsin from the couch. A friend of mine has it on screen, and I'm hype watching this defense fly around. I mean, it is these cats going into Wisconsin. I've been on both sides of that coin while I was playing. First time we went up there, we were up big and we didn't really feel it. But then 2011, we go up there, week 10, and we're down by Russell Wilson's torching us, and that jump around hits third quarter, and I'm like, whoa, this is a freaking hostile atmosphere. So,
by the way, that was the last game that they beat Penn State.
Really?
2011.
Yeah.
Really? Well, good
job, Mike.
Well, I mean, I'm no historian, man, CT, but that. For I think the confidence that gives you going into the year, especially on the road, it gets you tight. Like you get on the plane
tough
and it's
place
just
to play, tough team to play.
It is.
Took care of business.
And that defense, and they really are flying around. It looks like they're having fun playing. So
well, and momentum's such a big thing in sports and with a football team. And we talked about it all leading up to that Wisconsin game. There was just so much momentum with the way last season ended and the recruiting that has occurred. And now it just feels like you're riding that wave of momentum right now as Nittany Nation going into this Auburn game on Saturday night.
There's a lot of stored up potential energy just ready to pop. And then these guys, from what I've seen, they have all the potential, all the talent. They got the coaching, and they certainly have the best fan base and the best environment there is.
I got a feeling about this team being different is like they're not outspoken. They're more like lunch pail type guys.
They play together like I haven't seen in a few years. Certainly,
they go out there and they want to just go out there, win to beat somebody, and then have some fun.
Well, and to that end, because the 0-5 start last year, obviously, I think a lot of these guys did take it personal, and I think that's to the coaches and players' credit that they were able to turn that around and finish up the way they did.
Certainly, but
I want to compare that a little bit. I mean, obviously, different circumstances, but you've talked a lot about all of the moments here going into that season. And it's all great, and it's wonderful to have that mentality. But
we got to play ball.
0-2.
Well, yeah, we lead all up. We're all hyped.
And now everybody's, is this team even going to win a game, let alone have a winning season? Talk about just the toughness that was required to stay and all of that. But now you're 0-2, and to be able to turn that thing around is truly –
and 0-2 the way they got
the way. I mean, genuinely not believable that you guys were able to finish up the way you were that season, given everything that happened, and then also again getting off to that start.
Yeah, that's sometimes overlooked because there are so many other things that were surrounding that. But Ohio. I mean, of all the teams, and then you go to Virginia, and we lose by 1 or 2 and 5 field goals.
Yep.
And I remember being in the weight room the next day with Sortich. We're working out, and I'm like, well, at least we got no pressure now. we better turn this thing around, and we're going to look like the biggest assholes ever.
Like what OB did the next week, though, and a nice steady dose of Mike Zordich going through the line of scrimmage.
Well, we just started. That's when we're like, let's just go play and
just go kill somebody.
And we just started. It was just all right. It was almost like let's just laser focus, and we just got on this roll, and that's where it started getting fun. And we had this bubble still, and then it was just us, and all we had to do was show up. It was BYOJ, man. Bring your own juice.
You mentioned some of the names of the guys that were there, but dude, I'm telling you right now, Jordan Hill. It's unbelievable towards the end of that year. I don't think I've ever seen a 3 technique, and I say this every time I talk about Jordan Hill. What he did to Wisconsin
hasn't been done.
It's never been done before
since.
Never been.
He was a possessed man that day.
Even Sean Spence is like, man, I never saw anything like it
in
my life.
He was possessed that day.
He was going through, around, over, under. He did whatever he wanted, and that's a pretty good offensive line he was going against.
It was.
Who was I talking to? I think Jordan Hill was. I think it was. I was playing his golf tournament. I forget who I was with, but who's like the star from? Is it Travis Frederick? Is he from Wisconsin? Plays right guard for the center of the right guard was a Wisconsin guy.
Mm-hmm.
But there's supposedly a Dallas Cowboys, or Jerry Jones made a comment like, how come my guy's always the one getting beat by Jordan Hill in this picture? It was something like that, because Jordan Hill had just destroyed a very good offensive line.
Very good.
That game.
And if we don't win that game, none of this really, it just didn't put. It
was
That's where, you start 0-2.
Well,
and then you go on this run. I mean, I remember we went to Nebraska. Kind of felt like we got that one stolen from us. And then
wasn't kinda.
No, it wasn't kind of at all. But we won that game.
That was a real life.
I mean, that was. I actually have never seen. That's when I saw Bill really break. At the end of that one, it was like did
he call the ref a fighter?
I mean. Look, you thought McGloin was funny on XFL when he was getting after this guys. We were all. I mean, at that point, give it to. Well, I take it from us. That's how we felt, and we had all come so far. But no, we all felt like we could have been 10-2 that year, which would have been great. But we had to win the last one. That was all that mattered. So.
And you just Steve Jones' call on that field goal is just a great call on senior day. This team gets the win it deserves, and
storybook ending,
absolutely,
man. It really was.
It's the way that thing, from Penn State's perspective, it just had to finish that way.
Yeah,
that's the way that happened.
I do want to ask, and I know you've talked about it before, but I want to talk about it to our listeners. What was your feeling when you walked in that locker room that last game and everybody's wearing your number on their helmet?
Well,
I mean, that was unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Just
I folded. I didn't realize it. I walked in there with orders, and he kind of just tapping me, and I'm like trying to hold it together to begin with, and I started looking, and I'm like, I kept walking. I just took a hard right in the shower and just like folded it, and I was a basket case. But no, that's sign of respect from the peers.
Yeah,
I mean, what else?
Man.
What else is there? And that's
like,
that's a tribute to how close we were. We were and still are.
When we got the room dedicated to Slater a couple weeks ago, and I just telling the story the other day, he kept on looking at the sign like, "Is that my name?" Like
It's so surreal.
Looking at the comments,
it was so surreal.
Somebody's talking, and he's like listening to them, but he's like, "Why's my name on that door?"
It really was surreal.
Why's my name there?
When I see the highlights of that game,
you
still
can see 42. He couldn't spell his own name. That's the.
Well, nobody can pronounce my name, so that's one. TT Mots. No, but it is surreal. It really is. It's humbling beyond measure. So,
Mike, what are you doing these days? And talk a little bit about the relationship with your father too, and just the importance of that relationship through that time in particular.
Well, I certainly wouldn't be sitting here without him throughout my whole life, but most importantly, that time in terms of just guidance, perspective, and I already knew what to do. He raised me that way, and I'm just, more grateful than ever just to have been.
Pat doesn't get enough credit.
Patrick does not.
Pat's the older brother who was here 2 years older, 3 years,
4 years.
4 years older.
He
was
was
walk-on guy, but he
earned a scholarship the last couple of years, and
he was a Penn State favorite.
He was.
He doesn't get enough credit because he helped raise you too. I mean, there's no doubt
he
about
did.
that. So
I mean, he beat the crap out of me, toughened me up, and then we used to go at it when I was a freshman, and it'd be like big little Mots. That's what everybody used to call me, and they put us in one-on-ones. But like that picture of my brother and I, we had the roses in our mouth that my freshman year. Like that is special. Not everybody gets that, So it was definitely. I'm fortunate to have that experience. I really am.
Oh, great stuff. What are you doing these days, and what?
So since I retired 3 years ago, I've tried everything. I went broadcasting, coaching. I was pretty close to going into coaching with Coach O'Brien. He brought me in. I just followed him around for a couple of weeks and. I broadcast a lot of different things, but right now I'm in the wine business. We got a winery out in Napa Valley.
Nice.
I'm actually based out of Colorado, but we're doing with a good group out there. But it's kind of in a startup mode. Flying Lady's the name of it.
Awesome.
But up on Spring Mountain, and also learning the construction development game. So,
jeez.
But I got to wear a lot of hats, man.
CBD. Now you're in the wine. What's next?
I moved out there. I was studying hemp and cannabinoids and. I just love learning and growing. So I'm trying to figure out
some stuff that you had me involved with. I mean, that stuff is fantastic on my back and knees.
I mean, well, we didn't have to get into my personal health and story. That was like chapter after the Penn State stuff. It was like, okay, now it's just me. I had to kind of I was like 4.0, but I couldn't get. I had so many surgeries, and I just didn't want to go down that path and opioids, and it just I've lost friends to it. So
absolutely,
I started testing and looking for alternatives. CBD was like, I got split open, like major surgeries, and going from 6 days painkillers and like the all-in IVs to like trying CBD. Let me just see if this stuff works. And like it's like 8 p.m. I haven't taken anything today. This stuff, So I started learning from geneticists and scientists, and I did work with Pfizer a little bit and learning. I love research, and I like studying, doing like where's the evidence, like let's do. And so because I like to tinker, I'm kind of body hacker by nature, but that stuff certainly helped me a lot. I saw the proof, and anyway, and I'll still be involved in that in some capacity moving forward. But I wear a lot of hats.
Well, maybe I'll be the Flying Lady soon enough, there, buddy.
Yeah, we'll be on the scene here in about a month.
Soon.
Well, so the winery last year actually, and I'm working with great partners. David Nasser's brought me in with his team and his family and his businesses. But Spring Mountain was, the glass fires last year torched both sides of the valley. and we lost the home. I mean, just literally a week before it finished. Home winery, beautiful spread, and just torched the whole vintage.
I still drink it though.
And well, I brought some with us.
A little burn end Merlot. I'd have hit that.
Well, I mean, there was nothing left. We had a whole vintage sitting in the basement, and it was like there was zero. I'm like, David, we're going to build a cave next year. So, but next year it'll be ready by hopefully Thanksgiving, and we'll have our own tasting room and action out there. But next chapter,
Yeah, that's onward and upward, right?
Rise of the Phoenix, man. Absolutely.
Saving the Roar again tomorrow night at the State Theater, Saturday morning, and online as well.
Online is there. I think there's like 200 show times that they're
pick one to watch it.
Pick
man. It's
it.
really good.
It's a story you haven't heard. I can assure you of that, and it's certainly more emotional than a lot of people expect.
Ed, what you got for the game? What's your prediction?
I've been telling you all along. I feel good about it going in. I do think Auburn. I realize the competition of those first two games but I think they're better than I thought that they were going to be. I'm curious to see how this season plays out for them. But I have it Penn State 27-17.
Nice.
Okay.
I got 35-10.
I like that a lot better.
That's pretty good.
I like that better.
I like that better.
I hope you're right.
I mean,
I've been drinking those.
Well,
another couple of hours. 63 to -2.
72 to 0.
They're not even showing up. I'm telling you. Auburn's afraid.
But I mean, what player on Auburn's roster has played in a whiteout environment?
No, that's what.
The period end of sentence. And this one, it's been a year off. This place is going to be bananas.
Dude, it was bananas for Ball State last week. I mean, people were in the parking lot.
You just got chills.
Well, and the thing
give me the microphone. I'm going to get them hyped up.
Get them.
And listen, every game is a season unto itself, and we'll wait and see how this thing unfolds. But through two games, right, the only things you feel like could beat you if you're Penn State, because I do think Penn State this season, this team is more talented across the board. It has more talent than Auburn.
I agree. It's on them.
You're at home. You have that environment. The only thing that can beat you is the turnovers, right? And this defense has shown a proclivity for getting the turnover, and this offense has not yielded one. So going into it, and again, every game, it doesn't guarantee anything about Saturday night. But boy, it's hard to find reasons to not be optimistic if you're a Penn State fan going into this thing.
That's what I love about this team. They have their potential as high as they want. It's on them. They can take it as far as they want. So
we would talk about.
I think this is going to fuel.
It's coming together to.
It's all coming together.
Very special season here.
Yes, indeed.
Mike Mauti, as always, great to see you.
Thank you. Great to see you guys. You guys are the best. Thanks y'all for having me. Good. Love you, brother.
And Goon and I will be back on Tuesday to talk about the big Penn State win over Auburn. Until then, be good and be safe.